Okay, well, let's get started. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our series of Wednesday webinars. I don't know what number this is, but we're getting up there. I think we've been going now for 2, 3 years, maybe, off and on a few months, but we're back. And so I don't know how many people are familiar with LISC, but LISC is the country's largest community development organization, and they support the development of communities in general, but primarily under-resourced communities by investing and engaging in families and businesses in the communities they serve. So tonight, we're honored to have the executive director of LISC San Antonio with us, and quite an impressive bio here on her. She's a native of San Antonio and has worked many years in the areas of community development in San Antonio for financial institutions such as Bank of America, nonprofit organizations such as San Antonio Housing Trust and the Brackenridge Park Conservancy, and as a consultant for clients including the San Antonio River Authority, Bexar County, and Trinity University, and for municipal and county government, including serving as a chief of policy for 2 mayors. She's also served on numerous boards, including the American Institute of Architects, San Antonio section of the Texas chapter of the American Planning Association, and her neighborhood association. She holds a master's in community and regional planning from the University of Texas School of Architecture and a bachelor's degree from Stanford University. Wow. So welcome, Lila. We're happy to have you here, and I will turn this over to you.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. And I know this screen's been up for a while, so we don't need to linger on it. But it's just a little background on LISC at the national level. And there are about 3 dozen local offices. San Antonio is one, but we have offices across the country. And we have some affiliates that work with us to manage things like tax credit investments. Our each local program is local, and that's right in the name, local initiative support. And the goal of our local office in San Antonio may be a little different from what they're doing in Boston or what they're doing in Kalamazoo or Jacksonville or San Diego. But that really makes sense because the communities are all different. So we're really not into a kind of one size fits all, but we've identified common threads and 10 programs, which include recreation, but also topics like affordable housing and healthcare and childcare and others. So I'm going to go ahead and advance through just to talk a little bit about what LISC San Antonio does. This is our mission locally. We work in community to build health, wealth, and power for under-resourced people through funding, capacity building, and advocacy. And I want to focus in on the way that we think about that mission and the way that we execute that mission, because I think it relates back to the issue of how we share our goals and how we build connections in the community so that we get better absorption for our programs and initiatives. So LISC San Antonio has these 4 impact areas: expanding access to housing, strengthening local economies, bolstering community partners, and preparing for the future really relate to our topic around capacity building. And this is the lens we use. So everything that we do, we look at it as having 3 levels of focus. And many of you may have seen this diagram before. It's not proprietary to LISC. The way it's labeled right now is the way that we use it. But essentially, it says that when you're working in community, you're working at the individual level, and you're building relationships across these levels. You're working at the individual level, which is the person. There's none of the work that we do, even if we spend a lot of time thinking about policy development or funding, that doesn't happen unless there's an individual who is committing, they're making a commitment to the cause, or who's active in their neighborhood, or who's even working in the level of improving their family's outcomes. So that applies not only to the broader community, but also to the folks who do the work. So the yous who are organizing and supporting the action. And then the we is that the network, the nonprofit organization, the community group, but also your extended family or a PTA. So that's, the I's, individuals work in those groups. And we think both of those need support. So that might look like executive coaching for a nonprofit leader or board development work for a nonprofit organization. So that increases their efficiency and effectiveness and supports them. All of this is necessary because we don't have a perfect system. So thinking about your mission, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later on, there are things that would make it easier for you to accomplish your mission of folks coming together in these non-competitive and supportive ways to enjoy the outdoors. And so sometimes it's necessary to take action at a systems level to advocate or to try to make changes to make it easier to accomplish our goals as individuals and organizations. And none of this happens without building those relationships. And some of the issues that y'all touch on can be very personal to people. Fitness is a very personal issue. The idea of your focus on inclusivity can feel like a barrier to folks who may not be comfortable doing something in a group. So I just want to keep this 3-level structure in mind, or these concentric circles in mind, when you think about how you make community connections. And those are really based on your identity. And I'll talk a little bit about some definition of identity, but essentially you're looking at this starting point, your organization, the mission, vision, values, the things that you're trying to accomplish as an organization, your identity, and your starting point is within that nested set of concentric circles. It's your personal contacts, it's your shared networks, but it's also this idea of community outreach and the kind of bigger system. And that's the it maybe that's beyond the I and the we. And you're not starting from scratch, obviously. You, all of you have these building blocks. Your clubs or your chapters have building blocks, and those I think are often the first relationships that we leverage when we're looking to increase awareness or engagement in our activities or our programs. But I think it's worth focusing a little bit on those shared beliefs, mission, and values to think about how those are a building block for our outreach and engagement in community. So this is just a book I love, came out last year. And it may not seem relevant. It's really about work organizations, but it does offer this, I think, very nice description of what is identity. And it's why do you exist? What does everyone in your group agree that's important? Why and how you accomplish that? That's not as relevant to outsiders. It's more of an organizing internal. But then your values. So why you exist, what's driving you, and what are the behaviors that holds you together and that you act out in your organization. So if you think about that, this maps pretty closely. And I just went on your website and pulled your starting points for those community connections, relate back to your mission statement, your vision statement, your values. And these don't map directly onto the schema that I just mentioned, but it's pretty close. And so you know, as an organization and as a national movement, these are the commitments that you've made. You know, you're promoting and organizing non-competitive activities. You've got these goals for lifelong fun, fitness, and friendship for all abilities. And your value statement reflects back that mission and vision. So when you start to look at how do you reach out beyond your existing constituency and your existing members, and how do you, I think, also create a message that resonates with folks beyond your core membership, you can kind of start to map some of these connections onto your identity. So what are the elements of your mission and vision and value that give you connection points to the broader community? And in some cases, or in many cases, you may already be connected, or you may represent some of these entities. But you know, a core piece of your value is inclusivity. And so there are groups in behavioral healthcare, for example, that are looking for low stress ways for their clients or their families to be out in the community more. There are parents' day out groups where the idea that there's a place where kids would not only be tolerated but welcomed, I think would be helpful. I noticed that you talk about pets also on your site. So if there are some designated opportunities for people to get out with animals, that's a great resource for a new pet owner to understand. And when you provide this information to these other types of constituencies or other organizations, you're really doing them a service, right? You're saying, we know what your mission and your vision are, and we do some things that can help you to serve your community. And then specific groups, and you may already be connected to them, but Diversify Outdoors and Black Girls Run, and I'm a runner, so I'm familiar with these efforts at a local and national level to ensure that everyone feels welcome out jogging and exercising, because I think there are a lot of body types who haven't necessarily felt like this is an activity for them. Similarly, on the fitness, which I think is maybe a little bit more obvious, but there are opportunities to connect not just with a medical practice that may be looking for a referral. We know that folks are more likely to uptake an activity if they have a personal contact and if someone is depending on them. There's a group waiting for them. And one of the hardest follow-ups is for people to change long-term behaviors. So making that connection with a follow-up for social work or medical practice, or even to provide this as an additional kind of connection or amenity for a nonprofit or for-profit health club, that's a benefit that they can provide to their members or clients. And in general, you'll see I have educational institutions listed across these different categories because there are a couple of different, I think, avenues into whether it's getting young people out in to the outdoors, or whether in the next category on public service, a lot of high schools and colleges specifically have community service requirements, so that if there's a way that they can combine that public service element that you talk about with their educational mission, I think there's interest in kind of building more ties out in the community. And the neighborhood association tie may seem to be, I think, a kind of one of the most obvious ones, just to let people know what's either going on in their community or something that they can do as a community. But elected officials, for example, at all levels, publish a sometimes weekly e-blast, usually a monthly or quarterly newsletter, and activities that are taking place in their district. Sometimes they're also looking for an opportunity to engage in those activities. So reaching out to an elected official with an invitation can get you a broader audience and also make them aware of the work that you do. Similarly, there are at every in every local area, there are different boards and commissions, some elected, some appointed. Many of them have similar missions or related missions, or organizations that have, like when I was at the Brackenridge Park Conservancy, we had a board that was very attuned to public spaces. And the idea that you would get that board together and say, hey, we want to invite board members to come and experience this activity, can be an advantage for them to do something together as a group. So that last value that I pulled out, and I didn't try to prioritize these over any of the other values or mission components, but that last piece is the stewardship piece, and that means different things to different people. So probably the faith-based connection is something that comes in for a lot of folks under their personal connections, their own churches or congregations. But there are also efforts like a group called Rooted Good that focuses on how mission-based organizations use public spaces that could be contacts for some of the work that you do. So if you're connecting on with these organizations and you're trying to do outreach to different entities, how does that, how does that work? And I think don't underestimate your ability as a representative to do these public presentations. And I don't know if anyone, I'll just ask a question, although I don't know how many folks I can see. I may go to a bigger view here. Has anyone here ever done a Pecha Kucha or a TED Talk? Do you even know what those are? I mean, TED Talks, obviously, but do you know what a Pecha Kucha is? All right. So Pecha Kucha is a community-based presentation series where people volunteer to give 10 slides at a minute each. And the goal is to surface things that are going on in the community that other folks may not be aware of. And they're held regularly. Some places have them twice a year, some places only once. The talks are recorded and available afterwards. And so these are opportunities to kind of tell your story. And because they're illustrated, actually it may be 20 slides at 30 seconds each. It's a pretty rapid clip, but they're illustrated. So when you're talking about these images of the work that you do, how you get out and experience community, what the benefits are, that's a way of reaching folks. And of course, all of these are kind of that identity matrix I just showed, which is just a sample. There are civic organizations and professional associations that are also really interested and are looking for, similar to, your outreach series, they're looking for a better understanding. The way that people navigate through space is really of interest to planners, for example, or to the Open Space Commission and your local government. So what are the organizations and professional associations that do regular programming and would like to have a lunch speaker or have someone come and make a special presentation? Just to think a little bit about what does that look like. If you know how you're connecting with the group, then you have a sense of how you might want to customize. And this could be for materials that you leave somewhere or asked to put up on a bulletin board, for example, at a running store or at a health practice. So the idea that you would customize it to emphasize your, not just say, well, we have a walk on this day, but these are the things that motivate us. These are our values, and emphasize those that overlap with the clientele in or the members in the association that you're targeting. I think it always helps to be topical if you can be in an honest and sincere way. So recently we've had a lot of discussion about how communities can come together. Central Texas had some horrible tragedies over the summer, and the idea that people would like to be outdoors and active but supporting each other has special currency right now. So if you can be topical without kind of piling on to something in a clumsy way. But I think the most important thing is to be welcoming in materials. And I know that's one of your values, inclusivity and openness. And so I think emphasizing that. Now, the last note on here is it's the hardest for me. I've got all these folks who are like, you need to make TikToks, you need to do, and so I think this is a great strategy. You need to find people who are comfortable doing this strategy, who are comfortable making a 30-second clip and sharing it, who are able to put something on LinkedIn and say, if you're new to this neighborhood and you want to make connections, here's a way of doing that. So again, still customized, not just, but to be able to hit multiple, folks are pretty fragmented in their viewing and their media consumption, and getting different types of materials out there will allow you to be kind of broader in how you do your outreach. So this doesn't have to be, hiring someone to make a video, which is when I first started getting this, people were saying, make a TikTok. And I thought, I'm not capable of doing that. But I actually started by recording some of my memos to my staff and sending out like little 30-second videos to my staff on things that we were working on. And as you get more comfortable with it, you realize it's really not necessarily about the production values. It's really about the content of what you're sharing. And that makes it a little more comfortable for someone who did not grow up sharing or consuming information this way. So I think that's more about what the outreach effort itself would look like, the targeting of that, and how you think about other groups and how they could be part of your world and how it enriches them as well as you. That's the first step to take, though. I don't think that you can just skip to the let's make some sexy flyers and then that'll help us connect. I think that's it for the slides, but I'm happy to answer questions, or if you have other items that you need to go on to, happy to turn the meeting back over to you.
So Lila, you mentioned advocate a few times. Can you elaborate on that a bit? Because sometimes that's taken as something different, and we don't, it just kind of sounds like lobbying for others. What do you mean when you say advocate?
So I can talk a little bit about what we do and then how we work in community, and I'll go back to let's see, go back to this slide. I would say that you're for LISC, one of our as I mentioned, our approach is to work with the individuals and organizations, and then to look at what are some of the root causes. Why are the organizations struggling with some of these issues? And so that might be doing research. So as a real example, we work with individuals and organizations that are trying to address the consequences of eviction in community. So what happens when a family goes through an eviction? And there are a lot of resources out there, but what we saw was that the resources weren't necessarily lining up time-wise with where and when they were needed, and that people were going through a lot of extra steps. So for us, advocacy looked like doing an analysis of the programs that were available and coming back and recommending to local government and to local nonprofits, you're not using the same words. You're not aware of each other's programs, and you're not centering the folks who are going through the process in your response. We didn't. You mentioned lobbying. We weren't saying you need to spend more money on this. We weren't saying that any of this is your fault, or trying to kind of pin the blame. What we were doing was saying this would be more effective if you approached it from this perspective. And that kind of advocacy, I think, could be related to issues like, do sidewalks exist in places where you'd like to get people out and more active? Are the hours of public spaces lined up with the hours when people want to utilize them? What are the policies around bringing animals into certain spaces? And is that something that has come up as an issue? So I think that advocacy really starts, it's not a sort of abstract idea that, you use the word lobbying and it kind of sounds like you're trying to go out and get some benefit for yourself. It's really that listening process of listening to your members and your partners and saying, how do we make it easier for us to meet our mission? Is that the kind of or something more specific that I should get into?
Okay, any questions? Just go ahead and put your mic on, and because I can't see everyone's hand, so go ahead and speak. Cool. What about you hit another note on fitness is personal. So for many, it is, especially if you're reaching into different communities. So how do you go in and engage folks? Obviously, you can't go and lecture them about they need this and that. How do you approach folks like that, where it's something more personal?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we have talked about in our community tonight even kind of relates back to that. So there are, organizations that are already pretty active in different approaches. And so I'll use another example. We do a lot of work with organizations that counsel folks on financial fitness. So another very personal topic that people may not want to share, and there are financial health approaches that we all know are kind of common sense, but when someone that you don't have a relationship with tells you you should be saving or you should be checking your credit score, or so the way that that we try to support uptake on those um, and start those discussions is by working with organizations that already have relationships with individuals in the community, and by not trying to provide a blanket message like through advertising or through someone knocking at your door and asking do you are you doing estate planning, for example? That's another example of a financial planning topic that people just don't want to. People don't want to think about their estate. But if they're in the context of they already have a neighborhood association, and the neighborhood association talks about the generations that have lived in the community, and then they say, hey, for all of you who want to leave your house to your kids and want them to be able to live here, just make sure you have a will and we can provide information on that. So those same kinds of openings for people for organizations that already have a relationship, they can introduce the topics in a way that's not you intruding. It's building off of that existing contact, and those are also the groups that I think are most able to identify kind of a community champion or a point of contact, who in the association, the neighborhood association, for example, might be willing to set up a program or to start a weekly group, not in a you all ought to do this, but to offer it as a benefit and as something fun and as kind of a community-based activity.
Okay, we have a comment from John. Our clubs work with Walk Bike Central Florida to provide observations and data. They advocate for safer roads, sidewalks, crosswalks, etc., for pedestrians and cyclists.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really extraordinary, and that's great, because that's exactly the data and the feedback. That's what gives legitimacy to. So that's really a mutually beneficial relationship. And there are other groups like that. There's a group called Strong Towns, for example, that talks about what should pedestrian infrastructure look like. And Strong Towns can even organize a group to come and do, like they do kind of guerrilla tactics, where if you need your crosswalk restriped, or you need a different type of bollard arrangement, they come out and sort of show you what that could look like. So that's a great connection to work with advocacy groups that focus on infrastructure.
Yeah, it sounds like you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, but look for those groups within the community that align kind of with your mission and your values, what you're doing, and then connect with them. Those are already organized groups. But two things: what about if a lot of those groups don't exist, or you're trying to outreach? And what about outreach into businesses in the community as well?
So I love the focus on businesses, because I think while we tend to assume that mission and vision and value statements are unique to nonprofit entities, you'll find that a lot of businesses actually do have similar statements. And I mean, there's a whole category of businesses that are kind of hybrids that provide benefits in addition to shareholder return. And certainly, I think the easiest businesses to connect with would be things like co-ops that are organized for a member. And you may think, well, there aren't any co-ops where I am, but I bet there's a credit union where you are, and credit unions are co-ops. So I think there's categories of businesses that are organized for member benefit. But then there's also businesses that really pride themselves on being long-term members of the community, and particularly in some rural areas, you may have family-owned businesses or even family-owned banks that are still independent and local. And my guess is that many of them, while they may not have enunciated a mission, vision, and value statement the way that this is listed, that they already have engagements in the community that show you what their mission, vision, and values are, and that you can connect with them, maybe through beautification efforts, maybe they sponsor the annual Labor Day parade, those kinds of things. So look for what they already sponsor and figure out how that relates to the kind of work that you're doing.
What do you do in a situation where you've tried working with someone in another organization, whether it be a nonprofit or a school or whatnot, and they don't want to?
So one thing I would say there is that yes, sometimes you're going to get no, but what we have seen with some partners, and this happens also with funders, don't assume that no one year is the same as a no next year, because staff changes. And think back to that idea that your outreach or your application or your materials should be topical. So we really don't know. Boy, I mean, if anyone thinks they can predict the future, think about how the current events and the issues that are dominating discussion in your community, how what you do relates to those, and don't give up on partnering. Now, if someone has said, I'm not interested, I honor that for them, but keep your eye on that organization because or that neighborhood, because people move, people retire, people pass away, and you may have an opportunity there in the future, particularly if you modify the way that you're presenting the work that you're doing to something that has emerged as an important community issue.
How do you get to that point where it's the right connection, a good connection with the right partner? How do you get to that soft spot where, okay, yeah, this is it, this is where we go, this is what the ask is going to be, whether it's helping support this or volunteer or money or?
Yeah, so I think one of the, and I really don't know the size. I know that you're a national organization with an engaged board and committee structure at the national level. I don't know how that plays out at the local level, but we do a series called the Effective Board Series. And that we do 8 or 9 events during the year where we talk about a lot of these issues. What is the function of your board and your committee structure? How do you make sure that you're engaged and listening to community, and who does what? And to some extent, this is a board responsibility to be out and listening and asking questions in the community. And if you do have that kind of board structure, then you ought to have specifically a committee dedicated to outreach or community engagement, or if this is a pressing, reoccurring concern or interest, then have a committee dedicated to that. And that responsibility of those board members is to make contacts and listen and ask questions. And that's even easier if you're not asking for funding. If you're saying, hey, I'd love to hear more about what you think about what we do. Do you ever walk for pleasure? Do you, how do you get your exercise? I mean, those are questions that a lot of people will answer. And that's something that you should be, harvesting and monitoring that on a regular basis. And you may also find new board members in addition to new, participants through that process.
Thank you. Any questions? We're gonna wrap up here. If not, anyone out there?
And I think I have my contact info here. If for any reason you have anything you want to follow up with, or you want to know if there's a LISC organization in your area, I'm happy to, you can text me. That's my cell phone number, or you can feel free to email me, and I'm happy to follow up with anything I said or with those connections.
Yeah, and we have a national governing board, and then clubs across the country. So the folks on the call are from different parts of the country. Some have their own clubs, some are members, and most of the clubs have their own governing board. So it's kind of more like affiliates, if anything, across the country. So this is great. They can contact a chapter in their region if you have one, right? For
Yes.
outreach, support, training, etc. Well, thank you, Leila. Appreciate that. Happy that you were able to join us, and hope to see you back.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the invitation.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, we're gonna continue. I made a co-host, so I hope it doesn't turn off. With the second segment, which is an update on the 50th anniversary celebration. We've got lots of signature events planned, and a committee that's been working on that. And so I'll introduce the committee members. There are other members, but these are the ones that have organized the campaign, the events, etc. So I'd like to introduce Diane Evans, who's the chair of our programs committee, and then Susan Fine, chair of our publicity committee. And then also I think Rob McDaniels is joining us, and he was also on the board. And now he's helping coordinate some of these events. He's also coordinating the cruise that some of you might be attending this November. And so he's coordinating something special as well for the 50th. So I'll turn it over to you all, whoever wants to go first.
Diane, I'll let you go first because mine kind of backs up to you. You're on mute. I mean, you're.
Hear me now? Okay. Can I take the screen, or Henry, do you have the recent calendar I just sent you like 5 minutes ago?
Let me look for it real quick. Just take me a second.
I know the publicity committee had an article in the TAW, which gave a good overview of all the events that are upcoming, for the 50th anniversary, all the signature events. And then in the recent checkpoint, the publicity committee had like January and February highlighted. So all the months are filled for next year with at least one event, and sometimes they overlap. One event will overlap 2 months because it starts either at the beginning or the end of a month. And there is an event in every region of the US. So we're very thankful for all the clubs that came forward to help us with that. Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Is it showing up big enough?
Maybe if you could stretch it out or something. Or zoom in.
I probably need to open it in Excel. Okay, here we go. How's that?
Maybe you need to stretch your window. Or down at, let's see, is it 100%? Can't see. Well, anyway, you can see that each of the regions has taken a month, and some of them actually were regional conferences that they hold every other year. So it happened to be to our advantage that one was due in 2026. So that helped out a lot. The only month that we didn't have the last time I sent out a calendar was August. But Rob, who's doing the November cruise, is also going to be hosting a cruise, Canada and New England, at the end of August. So we have 2 walks that will be in Boston. So that's filled out the calendar completely. So thank you to all the clubs and the regional directors and deputy regional directors that have stepped forward to help us celebrate our 50th anniversary. And tomorrow I will be sending this schedule out to the board members and the POCs. So we have a lot of variety, a lot of good places to walk. So we'll see how many do all 16 events. So that's it for me.
Diane, there's a comment. Our club sent an info about an event in July, but we are not on this list.
Oh,
From Priscilla Fife. So you might get with her. Or
what was the club or the region?
Priscilla, can you answer?
The San Francisco Bay Bandits.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that, but I'll check my spam folder. Maybe that's where it is.
Okay, okay, I'll talk to the woman who was trying to get it on your calendar. Okay,
Oh, okay. Thank you.
okay.
Okay. Henry, if you could put up the PDF I sent. It's about 7 pages.
Okay, you go ahead and talk while I look for them.
Okay. Well, first, I did give to the big give. I hope all of you got in there and gave through tomorrow at 6 sometime, but tried to do my match time, and hopefully it got in there. Our committee has been working, and we have another meeting actually Friday. So what we have right now is pretty basic to discuss. We're working both nationally and locally on publicity. I think it's important. Of course, this is a big opportunity for us to talk about the walking clubs that is kind of a secret nationally, but we want to be sure that all of the events locally and regionally are successful also. So we will be working with each of the POCs to help them try to get as many people and get the word out about their events as they can. Yes, so here we go. It is a celebration. Happy birthday to both AVA and USA. And this is kind of the theme of what we want to do for next year. Remembering, because several of the walks that Diane was sent are tying in the 250th anniversary, which I think is very smart. It helps with marketing, it helps with promotion. So if you have something that might tie in also in your clubs, let us know. Anything we can do right now, we will be glad to do. If you can go to the next one. We are going to be creating a 50th anniversary webpage on the AVA site, where what Diane showed you, the list of all the events will be, along with a description of the walks, links to get more information, to register, to get the hotel, if they have a hotel, special rate, etc. What you saw in the TAW is the basics. We actually have some changes in dates, some changes in some additions to what was on there. So as we're getting this, which will hopefully be done in a couple of weeks, just the basic on the web page of the links, then you can start planning your travels. That's why we want to go ahead and get this done now. We know many of you plan your travels a year in advance, and that's our purpose right now. Next, we will have on that web page, excuse me, the history of the AVA. Some of you may not realize, from 76 when it started in Fredericksburg, Texas, by the Reverend Ken Knopp. The first American wanderer was in 78. The first convention was in Dayton, Ohio in 79. And there's a lot more history like that. And I think it's always fun to see how your area may have participated in something. Next. A big part of the webpage will also be a publicity toolkit. We want to have talking points for your clubs, for yours, especially if you're a featured event, that as you're talking to people about what the AVA is about, what is going on with our birthday. We'll have the logos there for you to use in all of your publicity, all of your events, website, etc. A flyer template, press release template. But I didn't put on here, we also just need a pitch template. To be honest with you, a lot of regional and national organizations, a press release isn't really what they're looking for. They're looking for how, what was the pitch. So I'll have a pitch template in there about what your particular walk may be, but we'll also be working with each of the POCs to help them on that. Suggestions for all the calendar listings that you can get your events into, whether it's the local Chamber of Commerce, many times the city has calendars, all the media have calendars on their websites, things like that. And then suggestions for social media, both in posts and everything. We also are gathering all of our Hall of Fame winners. I mean, that's a huge thing that we want to focus. And the big part is that, the clubs and the people are what make up AVA. And so we want to honor you if you have been voted into the Hall of Fame, and all of the presidents who have been voted into their positions and worked hard to make the organization what it is. Like I said, a big part of what the clubs are and what AVA is the clubs and it's the members. So we are trying to gather member stories. Please send them to me at publicity@ava.org. Send, if you've completed all 50 states, if you have walked in all 7 continents, if you have just discovered AVA and it's helped you with your health, with getting yourself out, anything like that. We want to talk to you. We want to showcase how that all of our members are people that really have great stories. And then the clubs themselves. This is about clubs. And so we're trying to, as there's a walk in the area, let's say January is the Pacific region, then we are looking at the clubs stories and what the clubs are about. So we're looking for a paragraph, and I sent that in the checkpoint. I can send you a sample again if you want to see how should I write up about my club. John McClellan is really taking this by the straw and is trying to do something almost every day that would feature a different club, or at least 3 or 4 times a week that would feature a different club, a different person, and really brag about AVA. Next. And you may have seen this in the checkpoint and in the email today on the back end of the email that was sent today about the big give. But the committee and the AVA office has put together what will be a passport book. So if you can complete all 16, or if it's 17 events, and that's a lot of traveling, we know, but there's some people that are really they really want to do this. So we will have a special souvenir for you and a t-shirt. If you complete half of those events, you'll get the souvenir. And so all you have to do is just send in the information to Marion. I think it was $15 plus $1.50 for shipping is what I remember seeing. But check the checkpoint, check your email today that came in on the big give. It's at the bottom of that. And try to involve yourself in trying to attend as many of these events. These clubs that are putting together these featured events, that's a lot of work for them for doing a 3-day, 4-day, in some case, 2-day events. And we really want to support them and try to get as many people as we can out there. And then there is a t-shirt that is being developed that will have all of the events on the back of it, along with the logos of the clubs. Erin is getting that together right now. So that will be fun that everybody can buy. It's almost like a concert, one of those concerts when we were much younger, when I was much younger, that I used to buy, because it had the year-long list on there. So that's kind of what we're trying to do here. And we hope you celebrate with us, join us as we're working toward making all of these events in all of the regions successful, and at least get the word out about AVA nationally, locally, regionally. Are there any questions?
Okay, thank you, Diane and Susan. How about Rob?
Hi, good evening, everybody. I was putting together 2026 fundraising after having great success of sign up on the 2025 fundraising. And it was dropped on me, the calendar, and I saw that November was open. So this here just had to fall in place, the Boston, Canada, New England cruise. I've had some people ask about it already, and it's an open invitation. But first, we'll talk about the 2 walks. They're going to be from the YREs in Boston, 28th and 29th of August, pre-cruise walks. And there may be a third option that I was told there may be a new walk that may be coming along pretty soon. So do you have to do all 3 to get credit? No, you don't. You can do one or the other. And we're going to have a meet and greet and a special cake from one of the local bakeries. And I'm not sure of all the details yet, but we're working on that. You do not have to go on the cruise, like I said, to participate. This is our second fundraising, so we're called AVA's Walking Waves 2. There's port walks at Portland, Maine. Bar Harbor, I'm trying to put that in. I may have to go up there and lay out a new walk, St. John and Halifax. So I spoke with the Canadians, our counterparts, and their walks are still there. We did those back in 2019, I think, or 17. Great walks. Again, we were celebrating the 50th year anniversary and the 250-year anniversary of America. There are special walk programs that people focus on, and I have that, and I'll share that on Facebook page. The brochure and for the sign up for the cruise is a QR code that they go on there and they can sign up, and I'll put that on AVA's Facebook page in Walking Waves. Other than that, I wish everybody success with this, and we can make it happen.
Thank you, Rob. Any questions on the celebration, the anniversary celebration? Again, there's a series of events. We try to get them across all regions, and I think we've accomplished that, right, Diane?
Yes.
There's something in every region.
Right.
Yeah. So the goal is to try to get as many as you can, or at least 50%. There's also a special program. Do you want to mention that briefly? The 50th anniversary special program?
Oh, Anniversaries Hurrah. That's done by the Falcon Wanderers in Colorado. And it's a program, a special program that's really up to you to decide what qualifiers you want to have. So you could make it like a category of like any of the first 100 year rounds, or maybe any of the first 100 clubs, or maybe any of the towns where we've had conventions, or maybe you have special programs that you didn't participate in the past and you want to do it now. So you just have to make your own category, any 250th anniversaries. Really, it's up to you to decide what you want to do for your qualifiers. But it's to celebrate ABA's 50th and the US 250th.
And they have until when to complete that?
You can purchase your book from January 2026 through the end of 2026, and then you have until December 31st, 2027 to complete it and redeem it.
Okay. Let's see if we get any other questions. Is there anything in the chat? No. Okay, well, if there aren't any questions, we are done for today. I do want to thank all of you who have supported the Big Give. Appreciate that. And there's still time. It just kicked off. It's from 6 p.m. It was 6 p.m. today till 6 p.m. tomorrow. So I appreciate your support. Look forward to seeing you next month. Thank you very much.
Oh, I think Jeannie Stokes has a question.
Oh, we have a question. Okay.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
No question.
I got a question.
Sure.
The giving minutes, is that every hour or is it the highlighted one in our time zone? That's what I'm confused on to get matching minutes.
The highlighted one is where the odds are the best of getting it matched because there's more money in the pool. But you can, if you get any of those time slots, you can give in any of those time slots and hopefully you'll get matched. They go really quick, like within the first minute. So you have to have everything lined up.
Okay.
And just hit send. But the one that's highlighted, that's where the odds are probably the
That's
best.
the odds. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that the next giving minute is about a little over 15 minutes away. 12 minutes after the hour in your time zone. And Rob, that's what it shows. It's showing the time in each time zone of the country. It's all
Right.
based on central time. And then obviously, if you're in another time zone, it goes forward or backward. And yes, it does go very quickly because most of these are only $10,000. And so you have to have everything ready to hit submit with the final payment right as the minute strikes. And in most of these, the funds are gone within 20 seconds because it's only things that happen within that designated minute. The highlighted one, we've got $25,000 pool. So that's why there's a much better chance of getting a match in that minute tomorrow.
Thank you, Carl Cords, our board chairman. Appreciate you joining us. Appreciate all the other board members that are out there, committee members, and our club members. We look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. Check the website for the topics. If the checkpoint's not out, we try to put it. We'll put it on the website sooner. Have a good evening. What's that?
Leslie has a question.
Okay.
Hand up.
Hi, Henry, I'm kind of curious when the information's going to be out on the Texas Trail Roundup. I was looking at the website for it yesterday and there's not a lot there.
Yeah, I think we probably within the next couple of weeks, they're still trying to secure a couple of locations, like specifically for the closing ceremony, but that should all be up within the next couple of weeks. Just the breakdown real quick, it's still following the same format, 3 days. So you'll have the walks in San Antonio on Saturday and Sunday, and on Friday the plan is to do the first walk in Fredericksburg. So people will be bussed out to Fredericksburg for the day, and we probably will have the opening ceremony out there as well, and try to make it as much as a traditional Volks March as possible out there. And so that would happen on Friday. That would be what we used to call the Friendship Walk. We're gonna call that the 50th anniversary walk. And then Saturday, you have the marathon, the half marathon, et cetera, and Sunday as well, and then the closing ceremony on Sunday. We do have a host hotel. I think that's on the website already. So we got a good rate if anybody's interested in coming for the host hotel, which is gonna be right down the road. And buses, I think, will be picking up at the host hotel.
Okay, so that was one of my questions is how are you getting people out to Fredericksburg?
We
And
will
you're gonna have a bus. All right,
Yes, yes.
all right. That's enough for right now. Thank you.
And,
All right.
and Henry, I might just point out, since that is a bit of a drive, make sure in the publicity that you highlight how much time they're going to need. You know, it's not going to be a case of people possibly flying in the day of. In some instances that they might need to plan to arrive the day before.
Yes, we're planning to kick things off in Fredericksburg on that Friday at 9 o'clock. So the
9
buses-
a.m.
9 a.m. So the buses would leave San Antonio around 7 a.m. or if you're driving, you'd want to get there by 9 a.m. in Fredericksburg, and then we would spend the day out there.
Right. Okay, super.
Okay, anyone else? Thanks for checking the hands, Susan. Okay, well, once again, have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you.
Bye now.
Bye.